So the Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS, they made a ruling also on Monday, in addition to granting protections for the LGBT folk on the in the workplace. They refused to consider legal immunity from lawsuits.
Yeah.
What does that
Qualified
mean?
immunity.
Qualified immunity. What does that mean?
Yeah. So qualified immunity is sort of this weird catch-22, and it was something that was created by the Supreme Court. So it's interesting that there's been a lot of demand for them to reconsider this. In fact, Clarence Thomas is actually dissenting. He dissented from the denial to hear those cases because he even has issues with the subject of qualified immunity. And so when Clarence Thomas and Sonia Sotomayor are on the same side of something, we know that this is something we need to be paying attention to. So qualified immunity creates this sort of weird catch-22 where a public official, i.e. a police officer, cannot be found liable if no one else has ever been found liable for exactly the same conduct. So if I'm a police officer and I shoot you in the leg, and I do so wrongly, and everyone knows it. There's witnesses. There's the people who got shot, the people who witnessed the shooting. If I do so wrongly and then I'm sued, I am protected by qualified immunity if I can basically show that, well, no other officer has been told you're not allowed to shoot people in the leg without cause, right? And it's a gross example, but I'm just there's actually a little boy who's 10 years old, and their family dog, the officer had them and a couple other little kids laying down on the ground and was shooting at the family dog and accidentally shot the little boy in the leg. And he was protected by qualified immunity because you cannot point to another case where an officer was explicitly told you cannot do this thing.
So basically, wait, hold on, Lurie. So they're basically giving license to people to come up with creative ways to kill us.
I mean, well,
that's what they're doing. I mean, it just sounds like, oh, okay, well, let's just be more creative, and then we won't have to pay for this.
Yeah, and
wow.
It's sad because there's no basis for it in the Constitution. There's no basis for it in the statutory text. There's no basis for it in history. This is literally something that the Supreme Court created, and it's sort of one of those examples when we hear legislating from the bench or activist judges. This is the type of thing you need to be thinking about, right? Not judges who are banning voter suppression or trying to protect voters. That's not being activist. That's just looking at the facts. But when you're literally creating these types of protections, and the idea is sort of similar to what we see with the immunity that the president has, and that we all know that should the president lose this election, he is facing potential charges from a number of state attorney generals. Shout out to Attorney General Tish James for the state of New York, who is one state attorney general. And they cannot file those criminal cases against him because he is essentially protected from the similar doctrine. The idea that presidents, police officers shouldn't be distracted from doing their duties by the threat of being a lawsuit unless they know or should know that what they're doing is wrong. And so, the question becomes, if you as an officer don't know that it's wrong to sit with your knee on a grown man's neck, a grown man with whom you worked, who you know personally, you should not put your knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, 2 minutes and 53 seconds after the movement from his body has stilled. What kind of world are we really living in? And the fact that the Supreme Court did not hear those cases really means that this is going to fall to Congress to address. The police reform package that the House Democrats introduced, I think it was last week, the days are flying by, does address this. There's even some possible mention, there's lip service, I guess, given from some folks on the Republican side. Libertarians have a particular issue with this as well. So this is definitely something that we are going to need to press Congress to deal with, because this is one of the very simple ways that police officers are literally able to get away with just about everything we see them get away with.